All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. And I'm really excited. Today's a little different. We're going to do what's called a round table because you're probably tired of hearing just me. It's okay. You can say it. It's all good. So today we're actually going to open the floor to 5 very talented people that have been in both the How to Hire, Train, and Retain ISAs class and the Mastering Inside Sales class, which launches next week for another time. Our third launch is next week. So what I want to do is go around and have each person introduce themselves. And if you would just say your name, where you're located for referrals, also what your position is and which class you took, and then we'll jump into questions. And by the way, I have a list of questions prepared. Yet those of you watching, if you have questions, you want to ask them, put it into the box and we'll make sure that we get those read out to everybody. So let's start with Mike. Name, location, position, and then what class you took.
Sure. My name is Mike. I've been at ISA for less than 2 months and I am in St. Louis. And then I'm right now, I'm in her class and we just finished up session 10 as of yesterday.
Yep. And I love that you're 58 days in. Yeah. I love that you're already on this webinar. That's pretty cool. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Kelly, let's hear from you.
Hey, I'm Kelly Lloyd. I'm from Stockbridge, Georgia. And I have been doing inside sales for about 5 years, but now actually leading our team. So training, I do a lot of training for the new agents for lead generation.
Yeah, which is awesome. You really see how it goes as you teach others, which is great. I love that you did it, and now you're coaching other people how to do it. So great experience. Okay, Ryan, let's hear from you, and then we'll go to Samantha.
Yeah, hey, I'm Ryan Graham, Community and Council Realty Group of Keller Williams in town, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the team lead, and Samantha Williams. Hi.
Hi. I'm Samantha. I'm Ryan's ISA. I have been with him for about a year, but working in the ISA position for 6 months. I am also out of Atlanta, and I took both courses, the How to Hire, Train, and Retain, and then Mastering Inside Sales.
Awesome. And I love you. I know, Ryan, I heard that you did that pretty strategically because you wanted to be transparent and have Samantha know how it works and your perspective, which I think is really cool. I've noticed as Rainmakers and ISAs partner together in these classes, we see really great results because you're on the same page, which is really cool.
I wanted to mention that as well. Samantha and I taking the How to Hire and Train, which is not necessarily geared for the ISA. We took it together because, I wanted to be fully transparent to say, hey, look, this is how this works. We're going to learn this together. We're going to develop this together. And I also have, high hopes for Samantha and growing in leadership. And I thought, what better way to understand it than right out of the gate from top to bottom? Regardless, I would highly recommend that approach to any Rainmaker because Samantha gained tremendously from my perspective of 17 years in the business, nuanced little things. And then she brought all these fresh ideas to me that gave me a different perspective on it. So it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I know when I was in ISA, Haro, my team leader, had me take it was called Leveraged Lead Gen back in the day. Tim Heil taught it. And it was great because it kind of taught me like the business of it. It wasn't as much about how to convert leads, but it taught me like, oh, my position should be earning this much ROI. I should probably make sure I'm doing that, So it gave me that leadership perspective, which was really helpful. And then Alicia, last but not least, we just got off an hour coaching together. She's with the Loken Group. So Alicia, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm here in Houston, Texas with the Loken Group. I've been with the team for about a year and then in real estate for 4 years, and I took Mastering Inside Sales. So.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, let's go ahead. The goal of today is really to give those of you watching some practical tips. So everybody think, because I'm going to ask you, what was your number one takeaway from the class that you took, and how did you actually implement it? So not just what did you learn, but what did you do with what you learned? And the goal is those of you watching can kind of get some of the best info from the class that you can use today after this webinar. So I'll let whoever wants to go first, go ahead and speak up. What's been your number one takeaway from class so far, and how are you using it in real life in your position?
I'll go first.
Okay, Kelly.
So session 4, the tracker, I think I even commented during that session, that alone is worth every ounce of it. That tracker is amazing. And especially when I'm training people and then having to get those conversions so I know how to train them better. The conversion rate is how it rates the conversion is amazing. And I couldn't do that in an Excel spreadsheet. So
yeah, I couldn't either. You know where that came from? I went on Facebook and I was like, who's good at Excel that I'll pay you to make a tracker? And a tech person from Boomtown responded, like, how much better can you get? And they created that for us. So for people watching that might not know and they're not in the class, it is something we provide through the class. Yeah, Kelly, could you just tell them what it tracks, or just kind of like big picture what it is so that they know what they should be tracking?
Well, it starts out with the basics of how many dials, how many combos, how many appointments, how many METs, how many closed. But then the tracker goes into detail on a separate page to show you your conversions. So appointment to kept to signed, and signed to closed. And that's where you really dig into to more detailed training for your team.
Right. Yeah, because if you see the national average is 5% and I'm at 7%, I'm good. Yes, I can practice. That's not my main focus. But maybe set to held national average is 70 and I'm at 50. Let's work on our set to held skills. So that's what I love about the tracker as well. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Let's hear from someone else. What's your number one takeaway and how are you using it in your real life in your position?
Yeah, I'll go next.
Okay.
This just sounds so basic and simple, but I wasn't even doing it. And keep in mind, I'm still very new at this, but the first week of class, Anna tells us, start off with open-ended questions, dig deep for motivation, and that made a huge difference because, we're not doing that. And it's actually, I had someone call me the other day, and they tried to sell me something, and it made a huge difference that they weren't listening to me. They weren't asking about my motivation. So now I'm just like, holy cow, that makes a huge difference on the other end. Just by asking open-ended questions, going deeper by why they want to move or sell. And from that, from that first training session, I started doing that, and people at least were staying on the phone longer. And now I had that up front, and that basic the conversation was based off that and how to move forward from that. So huge.
Awesome. Yeah, in the first class, we give everyone a buyer's info sheet and a seller info sheet with all the questions you need to ask on there. Mm-hmm. And then we spend that first class, a lot of it teaching how do you ask open-ended questions to have a good conversation. And I don't know about you guys, but if people are talking to me, I like my job a little more than people hanging up on me. So.
Mike, I like hearing that I'm not the only person that gets sales calls and then uses that as a training opportunity.
Yes, I do that.
Yep. Hey, I should recruit you to real estate and some education. Awesome. What else have you guys learned? So Samantha, Ryan, Alicia, what else have you learned in class that sticks out as your number one takeaway that if you were going to share it with someone, like you should do this, it would help your business? What is it?
I know for me, it's a lot of motivation, but the motivation has been key to helping me close, tying that back continuously. And then learning that objection pattern, how to handle when they throw out an objection, how to then dig a little deeper and go into, more questions, more open-ended questions, and then be able to tie it back to why they need to, meet with us now. So that's the key.
Yeah. And if you would say a little more, because you said something so key and it might have gotten missed because it was quick, is you said tying the motivation to getting them to move forward, something like that. So how do you do that? Like if someone's hearing tie the motivation, like how do you do that?
Well, like, for instance, if they say to me, I don't want to move right now, we're waiting until spring, and I know their motivation is that they really wanted to get closer to their family, I can say, well, I understand that, but we're really looking to get you closer to your family right now, and I know that's really important to you, and I don't want to miss this opportunity of being able to get you where you need to be. So let's go ahead and meet now. So being able to tie that back, every objection they give you, to why it's important to them.
Yeah, 100%. So it's not about meet with me right now. It's let's get you closer to your family right now. We should probably meet. So again, it goes back to that motivation, which Mike pointed out, is get the motivation first. 100%. Samantha or Ryan, anything you want to add to that as to what's your biggest takeaway so far from either class, since you guys took both?
One of my biggest takeaways from the Mastering Inside Sales class is the voicemail system that you gave us to use. I felt like before I was giving very redundant, repetitive voicemails and just not getting a great callback, text back ratio. And now I find that more than not, I don't even have to get to call 6.
That's awesome.
I'm getting some sort of answer or communication.
Yeah. I'm curious, do you know off the top of your head, what voicemail do they usually call you back on? Like, is it the 3rd one, the 5th one, or what is it?
Typically for me, it's between 3 and 4.
Okay. Awesome. And so for people not in the class, if in the class, which we have one launching next week on January 13th, it's Wednesday, Mastering Inside Sales. Yet not everybody listening is taking the class. So give, if you would, what's the big idea of how to leave a voicemail that actually works?
So the first call, there's no voicemail, but a text and an email maybe that go along. And then the second through the sixth phone call, there is a voicemail, but they all slightly change. The first voicemail being kind of vague, and then voicemail 3 through 5 being something that your business offers that can provide value for a customer. And the sixth voicemail acknowledging that you've reached out several times and you really don't want to be a pest, but you would like to offer service if possible.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I feel like you could teach if I'm out sick, I'm calling you.
Our student.
Yeah. Just so you know, those of you listening, that's a whole hour. We spent a whole hour talking about how to leave voicemails that work, and Samantha just dropped that in like 30 seconds. That was great. But yeah, they work. I used to think voicemails didn't work, and then I had a training, and I'm like, well, no wonder they didn't work. I didn't know how to leave voicemails. So yeah, that's really great. And Ryan, what about you? And for everybody else, while Ryan's sharing, the next question is going to be how much time or of some of the things you've learned. So if you can quantify that somehow, I think that can be motivating to people. Ryan, what's been your biggest takeaway from everything?
So from the Mastering Inside Sales, the plethora of Legos, building blocks. I'm, a recovering engineer, real estate agent for 17 years, but systems are at my core, right? Spreadsheets, I'm a big fan. I have to admit I've modified it, but it's okay. I'm trying not to change it too much.
Hey, that is fine with me. Go for it.
Right. But just the collection, the wealth of tools and systems, just like what Samantha just what like everybody has talked about, just these little nuggets that are just building blocks to fully refine from the how to hire, train, recruit that. So I'm a philosophical guy. I think understanding things at that philosophical level is what guides me and help make business decisions. The biggest aha, and Anna, we talked about this. This was actually in Gary's mastermind when I first heard you say it, and I dove in really deep in the class. It's the handshake, right? The passing of the baton. It's the ISA is not subordinate to the agent. It's not an entry-level position. It is absolutely an equal. In our business, I've always said, and somebody else named Gary taught me this, you either have an agent on a team or you have an admin. There's nobody else on a team. It's an agent or admin, right? And ISAs are agents. They're agents, bottom line. It's just, we talk a lot about in our business, the customer to client transition. And that's ISA is the customer's experience. Agent is the client's experience. And at the end of the day, it's that we want that person to have a seamless, wonderful experience across board there. Therefore, the ISA and the agent have to very much be on the same page, speaking the same language, but mostly communicating with each other, a constant feedback loop. When you drop a baton, you figure out how to not do that next time. That was like the most transformative thing for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there was an Olympic race back in 1970, I think it was 1970 something, where the U.S. was winning the race and we dropped the baton in the handoff. And I thought, what a great analogy for ISAs. And I'll say here too, this book, you can see it's a little worn. Mine's been used quite a bit here. One of the first things my team leader did when I started, he said, go read that book. And that's really your first assignment is read the whole book. And when you're done, I'll give you the next thing. And when I read this book, I had one of those like, oh my gosh, I feel so excited and completely freaked out moments, because Gary talks about lead gen, lead conversion is the lifeblood of your business. And he talks about that's not something you can just hand off to anybody. It takes talent. It takes a lot of talent. And it really, when I left reading this book, it gave me so much respect. And it gave me like this nervous, excited energy about what Haro had hired me to do. Because I realized like, gosh, if I'm not good at this, we don't have admin because we don't have closings. And so it's really important to find someone that you're right, Ryan, it's an equal position. It's not better than, it's not less than, it's not entry level. This is a very important role on the team. I'm so glad you said that. Kelly, I'm curious, since you did it for 5 years and now you coach others to do, what would you say is the main thing people need to know to get this right? The ISA position or just lead gen, lead conversion in general. What do people need to do to get that right?
Well, one of it is give it a little bit of time, and I think Mike we were talking about that beforehand. You gotta give it some time, and you have to constantly be learning. Just because I'm 5 years in, and you could probably say this too, Anna, you don't stop learning, you don't stop tweaking, you don't stop perfecting, because those little milliseconds of things that you learn on how to leave that voicemail that gets the phone call back, how to each little thing that you're tweaking is saving you time and making you money. And so you got to trust the process, and you don't think you've arrived, because you've got to constantly be perfecting the skill.
100%. And I want to highlight Alicia. She's with the Loken Group, and I actually coach their team 4 hours a month already. And on top of that, she chose to sign up for Mastering Inside Sales. So talking about like constantly being learning, Kelly, I just thought I need to highlight Alicia, because you're a great example of that. So then I said the next question is going to be, think if you can quantify, whether it be time that you've saved or money you've made. What are some of the benefits you've seen, time or money-wise, as a result of some of the things you've implemented in either class?
I mean, I know for me, for my closings, before Mastering Inside Sales, I was about, I don't know, maybe 5 to 6 a month. And then for the past 3 months, I've been at like 8 to 10 a month. So it's made a big difference in getting those closings. And I'm seeing that now. I took the class in the summer, so I'm seeing that benefit now as my closings are coming in faster and faster right now.
Yep. Yeah. And that's one good thing. This kind of goes off what Kelly said, is give it time. Is whatever you implement today, you'll probably see the appointment come from it within 3 months. You'll see the closing come from it within 6 months usually, because it takes about 3 months to nurture. Then you get them in the door. Then they meet with an agent. Then it takes 45 days to close. So your income usually comes in about 6 months from now. So Alicia, that's awesome. You've almost doubled your closings. Think it was well worth your investment there. That's awesome. Nice job.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest part too is my kept also went up. So I could set them all day long, but if I wasn't getting them to keep because I didn't have all the information, it wasn't going to work. I wasn't going to get them to the finish line.
Yeah. Working on that is way more strategic than just increasing contacts, which sometimes we need to increase contacts. But if you're already setting them, let's just get them to show up. That alone will usually make a big difference. Okay, who else? What is either time or money, something that you've seen improve as a result of what you've implemented so others can go implement it?
It's difficult for me to put time quantify it for you, Anna, but what I can say is that just having the roadmap, put right in front of us, I know that accelerated our growth curve, our development curve immensely. So that's a huge thing of great value. And then so we tried out a new lead source, a few months ago, and we're like, all right, we'll spend some money on this. We'll just see what happens. And Samantha, it was within so normally, right, red light, green light, 90 days, evaluate, start it or stop it, right? 30 days into, or maybe it was less, Samantha, like you had tracked everything. We had analyzed all the metrics within it. And it was like, there's nothing about this. This is, and boom, so that right there saved us 2 months of spend on that we traditionally would have done.
Yeah, that's all because you were tracking and you knew what to track. And that's one thing in the program. We provide 4 trackers by the end. So those of you that took it the first round already have all that because class is over. Like Mike, I know you're in the current class. Within the next 3 months when the class is over, you'll have 4 trackers to help out with all that stuff. So it's really, really huge. Anybody else that you want to add, either time or money, something that you can say, I've gained this because of the class?
I think I've gained a lot of time saving because I know I mentioned in my first interview that I do ISA part-time. So I also act as kind of marketing and an executive assistant for Ryan. But my first priority every day is to get my phone calls done and reach out to potential customers. So I have, you have the whiteboard of reminders and information. And I think following the foundational order of conversation every day is a really great way to immediately identify people that need service, people that aren't quite there yet. And it just saves so much time each day, week, month with nurturing and reach outs.
That's huge. I love that you have that. And because there's a lot of people watching that have not taken the class, what real quick are the 4 foundational parts of a conversation?
Dig for motivation, which is where you build a relationship and you move the convo forward. And then you pre-qualify if they're motivated, and that's you ask your open-ended questions. And then the next step is, talk to a lender, come in for an appointment, or maybe talk to your wife and think about it for a while. And then there's 4, assign a deadline, set an expectation, and then set that deadline so the appointment's not missed.
That's awesome. I love that you have it right there. I didn't tell her I was going to ask, and I was a little nervous to ask on the spot, and she nailed it. So to repeat that for everyone, it's number 1, dig for motivation always, no matter what the lead source is. Number 2, pre-qualify if they're motivated. Number 3, regardless of motivated or not. Number 3, pick a next step. And then number 4, give that step a deadline. Awesome. And then to what she referenced, I have it here in it, and I could see Samantha. I don't know if you can show us your whiteboard if you're but get a list of questions that you use or foundational things that you need to reference. Get it visual so you can look at it all day. It will help. That's awesome.
Nice.
I love it. Do more round tables. This is fun. All right. Awesome. Anything else that you guys want to add, whether time or money, something that you've saved? Maybe someone's listening and they're like, I don't know if I want to take this class. Is it going to be worth it? What would you say?
Take it.
Just take it.
Take it.
Well, for those of you wondering, it's $199 a month for 6 months. You pay $199 each month for 6 months. You don't pay all up front, so that helps with cost. And that ends up to be just under $1,200, and the average closing is $7,500. So that's a 6.2 ROI if you get one closing from the class. And I'm just going to tell you, if you don't get at least one closing, or if you only get one closing, please call Gary Keller and tell him to fire me from teaching this webinar, because that is a terrible result of class. You should get way, way more than that. I know an ISA not on this call today told us she's having 10 additional helds per month from class. So 10 held, not set, not 10 more contacts, not 10 more sets, 10 more people actually showing up per month as a result of the class. Well, if you close 80% of those out, which is average, that's 8 additional closings a month. That is hugely significant. So great. Chandler said, what are the 4 parts of a conversation again? So Samantha, go for it.
Okay, let me get my little thing. Dig for motivation. So this is when you build a relationship and you move the conversation forward. And then you pre-qualify if they're motivated. You ask open-ended questions, which Anna provides a list of. And then your next step is step 3, and that's when you get them with a lender, an agent. Maybe they just need to talk to their wife about it and make sure they're on the same page. And then from there, you assign a deadline. When is the meeting going to occur? How long will it take you to talk to your lender?
Yeah. Yeah. So I already know who my backup person will be if I'm sick and can't teach. Right? Okay. So next question. I'll direct this to either Kelly, Mike, or Alicia. How has your thinking changed because of class? So not necessarily a specific takeaway, but more just in general, like how have you changed as a person, or how has your thinking shifted as a result of class?
Sure. I'll go on this one.
Okay.
So with me being so new, and with not, I think the most experienced ISA we have here is like only been here for 3 months, and I've been here for almost 2 months. So we don't have much experience here. So when I joined, it's kind of just like, here's these people you need to call. There wasn't much guidance in that sense. And then so I was like, I need help. So I found Anna's class, joined. And then ever since then, she has provided guidance and just mentorship on, okay, now I know when I make this phone call, now I know like the things I need to ask for. So I have some strategies and some purpose when I make these phone calls, instead of just like willy-nilly, like, hey, give me some information, let's roll. Now I have like a purpose. So that's how my thinking has changed for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I find a lot of rainmakers, when they hire their first ISA, it's sometimes they're not sure how to train them, because a lot of rainmakers have kind of like a natural ability, and it's almost like, I don't know, I just do it. And you might just be a natural salesperson. Well, you can't teach someone to have your personality, right? You need a system and a method. I see Ryan shaking his head. That's where these things, again, first day of Mastering Inside Sales, you get a buyer script and a seller script. And I tell you, we're going to dive deeper into this as we go. Yeah, just use this for now. You'll be fine. And you'll understand it more as class goes on. Okay, anybody else?
I'll second that idea just very briefly. So Samantha's actually the 4th ISA I've hired, as well as I've also contracted 4 of those like outside third-party ISA company type things. And this is the first time we've, worked with you and your systems and your models and everything. for anybody who's on the fence, to answer that question earlier, like, don't make the same mistake or don't follow the same pathway that I followed. There's a much faster pathway to success, and it's through Anna's program.
Yeah. And it just comes from, because I want to be careful to say, it's a lot of what we teach in that class through MAPS comes from all the failures. I've been in ISA since 2006, and then I managed ISAs. I was a sales manager. Then I started training ISAs, and then I went back to being an ISA. And I've just learned a lot of stuff you should not do. And so in this class, it's a lot of that, like, let's just save you a whole bunch of time, 14 years, like, just do this, don't do that. Let's succeed a lot faster. So what about Kelly or Alicia? Anything you guys want to add of how your thinking has changed or what's different for you?
I know for me, I've been prospecting for about 4 years. In the first 3 years, I just followed the same 10 questions, just the same. I didn't divert from the same 10 questions. And this class has really helped me listen and take in what they're saying and then ask the right question to get to the next stage. And I feel like when I was asking the same 10 questions, they'd answer and I'd be like, okay, good for you. Moving on. Like, I wasn't really taking it, and I was just trying to get to the last question where I closed it. So
Right. Which is kind of boring, really. Yeah. And that's one thing for those of you listening that aren't familiar with open-ended questions. The way we teach it, the questions change what I like is it gives you a structure to follow, yet it's not this script that you read that's the same every time. So it teaches you more how to talk to people, what's the science of how to talk to people. You definitely have a structure, so you know what you should do, but it's not like the same exact thing every single call. Would you guys agree? Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. Kelly,
So when I talk about a lot scripts, I was anti-script out of the gate, like long time ago, right? It didn't feel right to me, feel authentic. Then one day I realized that scripts are like to musicians what scales would be, or learning like musical structure. And I can play a scale, like a blues diminished scale. But then when Jimi Hendrix played it, it sounded totally different. And we all start out being very robotic in our scripts and our delivery of the language of sales. But then one day we start to play the music, right?
Yes.
And the open-ended allows us to dance around, and we go from, Mary Had a Little Lamb to something that resembles jazz.
Yeah, I love that reference. I actually used to be a piano teacher. And when I first started taking piano lessons, a lot of you will laugh at this because a lot of us in real estate like to do things outside the box. I would be like, I don't like this timing, so I'm just going to play the notes, but in my own timing. And my teacher said to me when I was in 4th grade, she said, you can play your own timing as soon as you play it at least once the way it's written. Do it, master it the way it's written, and then do what you want. And I feel like that's very true with language patterns and scripts, is you don't really get the license to change things until you've mastered the way it's proven to work. And then you understand it enough, you can have some fun with it. Kelly, anything you want to add as we close out the webinar today?
Yeah, I was just thinking how it has changed me is kind of a rejuvenation. Like I needed that, we're unicorns. I mean, let's face it, even right. And so I know my team kind of looks at me like, how do you get on the phone and do that? I love the challenge of it, but sometimes as you go, you can kind of just get complacent. And for me, the class has really rejuvenated me. I love teaching how to lead generate. And then I find like just the excitement when I'm on the phone and they can watch me and see how it's done. And you nail that appointment, and I don't know, it's been a recharge, which has been great.
Well, this has filled my bucket because this has been fun. This is the first roundtable we've done in a long time. So Hannah, who's moderating today, let's do more of these. I think this is a lot of fun, getting people to hear from you because you guys have a lot of value to add. And I love that you were willing to hop on here and share today. So those of you listening that want to hear just how's it work? How do we plug in? And then we'll let you go. Mastering Inside Sales, our 3rd class launches next week, Wednesday, 6 days from today. We do have a cutoff date. So don't wait. If you're thinking, don't wait because we will eventually cut off the class. Go ahead and sign up. It's 3 webinars a month, and then we take a week off so that you can practice, which, by the way, how do you guys like that? It basically, we're giving you fire hose, tons of information, and then take a week off so you can really get it down, and then we layer on the next class. So every month you have 3 classes, a week off. They're all recorded. Some of you have messaged me and said, I have an ISA starting in February. What should I do? This starts in January. I'd say go ahead and sign up because when your ISA starts, whenever they start, you'll have the bank of videos waiting for them as soon as they register. And it's a 6-month program, $199 a month, and then you have access to all the recordings for 2 months after the last class. So big picture, you have access for 8 months, six months of class plus 2 months, and then the videos will expire. So if you guys have any other questions about how it works, go ahead and type it in. We're out of time. If you guys have to go, that's fine. I'm going to hang on a minute. If anyone has additional questions, you're welcome to if you have time. What other questions do you guys have before we go? Chandler, yay. It looks like we'll see you next week. That's awesome. I think Rick is as well. He already took the class once, and I believe he said he's taking it again, which is great. Any other questions? We need Jeopardy music. Okay. Yeah, thank you. All right. I don't see any other parting comments you guys want to say before we hop off?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Ryan says, to clarify once again, there are 2 programs. Are these one-on-one coaching sessions? So there's 2 programs. One is for the leader on how to hire, train, and keep ISAs, because we have a problem with turnover, right? That class is going to be in April. So we'll be talking about that a lot more coming up. You can go ahead and register. If you go to annascoaching.com, you'll see a button for the leader and a button for the ISA. So you can go ahead and sign up for the leader class now, and it'll happen in April. The one for the ISAs, and honestly, I see Debbie in here. She is an agent. Debbie's awesome. Debbie, I think I say her name, Henninger. She's a solo agent in the class and said she's getting a ton out of it. So Mastering Inside Sales, it's really for anybody that talks to leads and you need to turn them into clients. That's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. You can take that class. It starts next week. It doesn't have one-on-one coaching element. We used to have a program like that, and it cost about $600 more per month, and we wanted to make this more affordable for you. So if you want one-on-one coaching, just message me individually. There are options for that. The actual class, however, is webinar only. Perfect. Oh, it looks like somebody else is taking the class from Puget Sound. That's awesome. What headset do you guys recommend? And I'll leave that up to you guys. Mm-hmm. I like the HyperX gaming headset. I do have a Facebook group called ISA Mastermind Group. I just saw a conversation about this last night, and there was some headset I'd never heard of that everyone was raving about. So just go to the Facebook group, ISA Mastermind Group, and search headset, and you'll see that pop up.
Planetonics is what I use.
Planetonics. Perfect. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And then Mary Jo, is it interactive? Yes. Yes. In fact, you guys can attest to it. Zoom is awesome. We can put you in breakout rooms. If you don't know what that is, it's basically, if you're in a classroom, it's like, hey, get to your table and discuss. On Zoom, I can put you in digital, smaller rooms. And so I'll say, hey, let's practice what we just did. And I'll stick you in a room and you guys practice. And then I bring you back and you guys can talk just like we are doing on this right now.
But I want to add there for anybody who might be intimidated by, like, I'm not sure if she's asking, do we need to speak? Like, that bothers me, or, you know, or yay, I get to speak. You know, you make it really comfortable for everybody. It's like we're all just a bunch of peers talking and, you know, learning from each other. And, you know, there's been times where I think you've even called, you know, a few people, but you're working, like you work with them through that. It's not anything uncomfortable at all.
Good. I'm glad to know that, because I don't want that to be, I mean, being uncomfortable, we're usually growing. So if it happens, it's okay. Mm-hmm. And my heart is, people know I'm just like you. I've just been doing this for a while. That's all. I always like to say, if we all started the same day, maybe you'd be better than me. How do you know? I've just been doing it longer. So I want everyone to have confidence as they're in the class. There is a question. If we sign up for the leader class that starts in April, would we have access to the previous class? The answer is no, if I understand your question correctly. So if you sign up for the April class, in April, you'll receive the class and then you'll have those recordings for 60 days. I think that's what you mean. Perfect. Okay, I do want to let you guys go and respect your time. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. And by the way, everyone, they were asked to do this either yesterday or this morning, and they hopped on. So thank you for hopping on last minute and giving me the time today. Hopefully you guys got some awesome takeaways. Join us for Mastering Inside Sales next week, masteringinsidesales.com. You can read all about the class and then there's a button that says sign up now. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.